In this last segment, I would like to help you make a start in thinking about our goal for the depressed. This is obviously relevant to both strugglers and supporters, isn't it? To know where are we heading. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, while we can't find the word depressed or depression in the Bible, we can certainly find the experience of depression. Darkness, anguish, hopelessness, afraid, fearful, despair, anxious, they're all written all over the Bible. Many of the psalmists certainly meet the criteria of being depressed. So being depressed is a reasonable response when confronted with sin and pain in our broken world. And depression itself is not sin, it is suffering. So in asking where Scripture leads the depressed, we are in fact asking, how does Scripture approach those who are suffering? To those who are in anguish and despair, hopeless and weak, what is the posture that Scripture takes on when addressing them? Well, in Scripture, the call to not be afraid, to not fear, to not be anxious, to not be afraid, is frequently accompanied by an assurance or a promise that God is near. God is near. For example, in Psalm 118, I will not be afraid. Why? The Lord is with me. In Isaiah 41, do not fear. Why? For I am with you. Or in Philippians 4, one of our favorite verses, do not be anxious. Why? The Lord is near. Can you hear the tone of the voice? It is a reassuring voice, isn't it? It is not the strong rebuke tone that we see in 1 Corinthians 6, flee sexual immorality, or in Ephesians 5, everyone who is covetous has no inheritance in the kingdom of Christ. No. Rather, it is, do not be afraid. I will never forsake you. I'll never leave you. The road is hard, but I am with you and I will be with you. And this is not a mind trick or a self-talk technique, but it is personal, it is relational. It is your personal God is in person with you in the midst of your pain. And that is the reassuring posture that we as supporters want to take on as we seek to love the depressed. The deep darkness of depression that you feel may or may not go away, I don't know. But you are not alone in this. I am here for you, and God is with us. He is near. So where does Scripture lead the depressed? Well, God holds on to them. God reassures them and leads them to faith, to look to His Son. Yes, we will pray and we will long for our depression to go away. But the fundamental hope is not that we will not feel this darkness anymore, but that God is with us no matter how long or how short the valley of the shadow of death turns out to be. David Paulison helpfully asks Christians to consider this. Take a look at 1 Thessalonians 5:14 and ask yourself, where does the depressed fit in? Are they the idle and the disruptive to be warned? Or are they the faint-hearted to be encouraged? And the weak to be helped? Do you see that? Our role as supporters is not to be a fixer, but be a friend. A faithful friend who embodies God's presence and love and care in the midst of darkness. A faithful friend who is willing to be present, willing to sit and listen. A faithful friend who encourages the faint-hearted and who helps the weak, and to do it for the long haul. A faithful friend cries out to the Lord in humility, with them and for them. Lord, you put me in the lowest pit, in the darkest depth. Your wrath lies heavily on me. You have overwhelmed me with all your waves. You have taken from me my closest friends, and have made me repulsive to them. I am confined, and I cannot escape. My eyes are dim with grief. Lord, please help. A faithful friend come alongside the depressed to cry with them in humility, for them and with them in faith.